guys. Turn my volume down a bit. Welcome. So today we're going to assemble the pom-pom dahlia. I brought my pink dahlia just to show you in case you did not see my post. But this is a flower that we are going to assemble today. Last week we worked on putting together the template or the petals. So we started with this shape, and we turned it into a cone essentially. So if you missed the first part, don't worry, because I'm going to repost the first part and this part today, so you'll be able to rewatch it. I'm using my own template. It's available on my Etsy shop, as well as many other templates. And we're going to start with the biggest size petal, which is this one. So I'm going to set aside all of the other petals for now. We're going to do a total of 6 layers. Hi, Vanna. And then we are going to, let me log in so I can see your comments. Okay, so now I can see your guys' comments. If you have any questions or anything, let me know in the chat. I'll try my best to keep an eye on it. But I have preheated my glue gun, and I am going to start by adding some glue to the petals and placing them on the base. This is going to be the base. Now I'm using 65-pound cardstock for everything, the base and the petals, but I suggest that you either double up the base or use a thicker cardstock for a sturdier base. So essentially we're going to put some glue right here at the base, a little dot, and then we're going to place it. Now you will see that, oh hello there, you will see that there are some guides on my base. So I'm going to place the petal so that its placement matches the guide. You can also choose to print out basically, or cut out multiple circles that you can just place on top. It's what I did for this flower, and you can see that video on my reels, on my page, on my feed. And yeah, and then we're going to repeat. Now, the one thing that I try to be mindful of as I'm assembling the dahlia is that the petals are really next to each other, and not so much here, but this is the part that's going to be visible. So they're supposed to basically touch. And yeah, that's that. Other than that, it's a pretty easy flower to make. It's very beginner friendly, it's kid friendly. It is great if you don't have a cutting machine, because the shape of the petal is so simple that you can definitely cut this by hand. That's why I do include the PDF in my template. And yeah, it's just a beautiful flower. The end results are amazing. I always am like amazed by just like looking at the final flower, putting it together, because at first you're just doing a lot of work, right, with all these tiny pieces, and you're like, okay, where is this going to take me? And then you're assembling it, and you're like, okay, I guess this is what I'm supposed to do. And then in the end, just everything comes together beautifully. And of course, that's subjective, right? But I know that you guys like them too because of your feedback. So I take the opportunity to thank you all for the feedback, for messages or likes or follows or anything, just for being here. It is very helpful. And not only knowing you know, what templates you guys like, but also just encouraging me as a creator to keep going. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Vibe have. And I am in Maryland, by the way, East Coast of the United States. Where are you guys watching from? I would love to know, so let me know in the comments. And then also let me know if you're crafting along. But like I said, if you missed part of this, or if you know, are just joining, don't worry, I will be reposting the video. And this is the second part actually, because in the first part, like I mentioned, we shaped the petals. There are a lot of petals in this flower, and that's the most, like, I mean, it's just that this flower takes a bit to build. That's the most, like, challenging part, I guess, because when it comes to the technique, it really is not difficult at all. But it does require some patience, because you have to, you know, single-handedly shape these petals. And let me grab a new glue stick. But it's fun if you like, you know, I said playing with paper, but making with paper, creating with paper, and yeah, sometimes it is like a game. So playing with paper, and you're in the right place. But yeah, just as a reminder, I am using 23 petals for this first layer, okay? Now, this is a handmade flower. Each petal, like we said, is hand shaped. So the number of petals may vary. And if that's the case, don't worry, you may need one more or one less. But again, the most important thing is that the petals are really right next to each other. And then I'll show you guys a trick in the end, what to do if you find that your petals are, if you find that there's a gap in between your petals. But let me finish the first layer. And again, I'm using the biggest size petal for the first layer, the bottom layer. Now, because I'm using hot glue, this is, it's going to allow me to work fast, relatively fast, let's say. And so, what happened to my music? Here we go. So that's one good thing about working with hot glue. And as always, I have to remind you, be careful, because hot glue, as the name suggests, is hot. Okay. So yeah, the guides here, the circles, I chose to do scoring lines. Basically, in my program, I use a cutting machine, the Cricut. So many ads. I use a Cricut Maker. I have the Cricut Explorer 3, and in the program, which is called Design Space, I basically stacked all of the circles for the base, and instead of cutting many different circles in different sizes, I chose to create scoring lines. I attached everything, and so it ended up printing out or cutting out one circle and then making these score lines, which serve as guides. So there's 2 different ways that you can use the base, and you get to decide. Okay. We have one more, and then we have completed layer 1. And now I'm gonna go around and do a little bit of an inspection to see if there's any gaps between my petals. And I mean, I don't see any, but if I did, like here, there's a little bit of a gap. What you can do is you can just push down on either one of the petals and even squish it a bit so that it opens up and it fills in that space. And if the gap is so bad that you can't do it, then I mean, you can either retake it, redo it, or you can add a little bit of glue so that the two petals stay attached. Okay. Is there anything else I'm forgetting? Nope. Good to go. Não entendo sua língua. Oh, no. Não, você não entende inglês. Well, not sure what to say to that. I wish they had like a translation option. It would be cool. All right, so now we're going to continue with the second layer. And for the second layer, my petals are a little bit smaller. So that's how you know it's the next size down. This was the first layer and this is the second layer. And then I'm going to use the second guideline, right? The second circle here as my guide. And then the other thing that I'm going to be mindful of is I'm going to start like in between filling the space in between the previous petals where the previous layer was. So basically I'm going to start here, not here. Now along the way, it's not going to matter as much. It's going to do its own thing, but the beginning, that's where I'm going to start, is right there. Okay, like so. And then I'm going to continue all around. Se você não entende a língua que eu falo, você pode olhar e aprender. I'm saying that if you don't understand the language, you can also just like watch. And that's the thing about flowers, like or these tutorials, is that, you know, sometimes just by watching you can learn. And not just obviously watching those 30-second videos, but also watching these live real-time tutorials. But I will, like I mentioned, I will repost these on YouTube so that you can rewatch, but then also that you can like rewind or fast forward as needed. Because I have thought about making tutorials in other languages, and it is something that I plan to do. But at the same time, I know that I have many clients that use my templates, that watch my tutorials, make my flowers, and they don't necessarily speak English. They just watch the tutorials. So yeah, I'm tempted now to start speaking Portuguese, but I don't want to make it confusing, so I'll stick to English. Não, as pétalas não são todas as mesmas medidas. Tenho cinco medidas diferentes. Okay. Someone asked me a question, and the question was, are all the petals the same size? And they're not. We have 5 different sizes. And we're going to have in total 6 layers, because technically the center has like 2 layers, but there are 5 different sizes. I am good. How are you? Like I mentioned, I'm using 65-pound cardstock, solid core. It's important that you use solid core, I believe, if you can access, because it really helps with keeping the color. Solid core means that it's the same color outside as inside of the paper, as opposed to white core, which on the inside is white. So when we make these petals, the white really shows, or rather the like inside, the core of the paper really shows. So if you have white, you know, the white is going to show, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I find the color is more vibrant if I use solid core. Okay, so here we have a bit of a gap that I think I can fix. Let's see. I'm going to redo the shape of the petal to make it a bit wider. And then that will fill the gap better. So like I mentioned in the beginning, if the gap is so big, like in my case where smooshing it wouldn't work, I just took the whole thing off. I redid the petal so that it's a bit wider. And now I can do a little bit of smooshing to fill in the gap. Okay, that looks good to me. I love this color, by the way. This red is from Michaels, yes, which is no surprise to those of you who know me and followed me for a while. That's my go-to. But yeah, it's my local craft store. So I'm continuing with layer 3, and again, as you can see, I'm sizing down, going with the next size down in my petals, and using the next circle. There's a circle right here, and that's going to be my guide. Now it doesn't have to be perfectly, you know, but it's a guide. So it is simply a guide. Flowers are imperfect, and so having imperfections is totally okay. And it's actually one of the, I found that it's one of the qualities that people look for in or admire in handmade crafts or artwork. Those little imperfections. It's a little bit of like humanity, I don't know. So if you guys can see, and if you notice the third layer, I mean each layer starts, the petals start to sit a bit more upright, a little bit more vertically, right? So I'm making sure that I'm putting the glue right here at the bottom, and then also when I place the petal onto the base, I like press down, so that little like tip is literally like smooshed down a bit. Let's see if I can show you. You can see how it's smooshed down because I'm pushing in, applying pressure, okay? Put my music a bit more so you guys can hear it. And I need some water. Oh, this is so silly. This music channel that I picked, every time I turn up the volume, there's ads. And then I turn down the volume and then I forget about it. And then I turn the volume up and I remember. And of course, as soon as I turn up the volume, there's another ad. Oh my god. Okay. So yeah, this is beautiful with, like I mentioned in the beginning, any kind of paper, but I find that 65 pound cardstock is really that perfect thickness where the paper is, you know, thick enough to maintain its shape, but also thin enough that you can shape it, you know, you can manipulate it. And so yeah, 176 GSM or 65 pound cardstock. Now it doesn't have to be exactly that thickness. If you can find that exact thickness, especially for those of you who are not in the US, but as close to it as possible. Definitely. I've also seen beautiful versions of the pom-pom dahlias made with like book pages, and those look really cool. And of course I've done the dahlia with a slightly different variation, but the same flower style, meaning like the pom-pom dahlia style, in a rainbow color palette, and that also is very cool. But red, pink, white, those are black. So here now I have space, but I don't have enough space for like a whole one. I feel like that's gonna be a little bit tight. So I'm just gonna remove the first one. I'm gonna try to reposition it. So I can create a little bit more room. It's kind of like a domino effect here. That should be good. Okay, so far we have done 3 layers. We have completed 3 layers of our dahlia, our pom-pom dahlia. And just as a reminder, I used 23 petals for the first layer, 20 petals for the second layer, and 16 petals for the third layer. Now I'm going to move on to the 4th layer, where I'm going to use 13 petals, and then we're going to do the final one, which is the center. So layer 4, this is the petal. It's even smaller. Same technique as before. We're going to smoosh it so that it sits there sort of like upright. Share this live video so others can watch. Oh, if you guys can share this live video, that would be great. I didn't know that you could do that. Yeah, that'd be great if you could share this video to let other people know, other crafty friends. Make sure to remind you. And as I mentioned in the beginning, if you happen to have missed the first part of this tutorial or the beginning, I will be reposting on my YouTube I will share that video there, and that's where you can find my other real-time tutorials as well. So make sure to check me out on YouTube and subscribe and all that good stuff. You can just search Floral Flare Studio on YouTube. Okay, so now we have completed 4 layers and we are ready to to do the final 2 layers, which is really just like a 1 and 2 because we're using the same size petals for both of those layers. That's gonna make our like middle, our center. Basically, we're gonna work on this section here right now. All right. So the way I did it before is I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I did like 9 and then 5, I guess, but we'll see. So there is, for this point, at this point, there is no like circle, there's no guide, just however you want to arrange the center, you can do that any way you want, but this is how I will do mine. Just gonna continue in the same pattern as we did before. And again, there may be small variations in the number of petals that you use, because this is a handmade flower with handmade petals. Even though I cut mine by machine and you know there is a template, they are still shaped by hand, so there will always be variations, but that's what's cool about paper flowers, handmade paper flowers, is that every one is like, each one is unique, you know. Okay, I'm gonna move this just a tiny bit over to the right. And that's another cool thing about paper, specifically 65-pound cardstock. Like you can, you know, it's more durable than you think. So you can remove a petal, even though I glued it down with hot glue, and it will retain its shape and all of that. So I did, let's see, what did I do here? I did kind of freestyled it here. I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Filling in the space. This is going to be my last layer. Oops. See what I was talking about in the beginning, that you want to double up this. I'm going to add another layer here because otherwise it's just not very sturdy, not for this size and this style flower. So you want to make the base with a thicker cardstock or double, triple the 65-pound cardstock, which is what I used. I think I could get away with just one more here, but I'm gonna do, I'll do 2 or 3. But yeah, the center like kind of builds itself. It feels like, you know, you have to work with the space that you have, yeah. Should we do one more right there, or should we do that? Yeah, like that. So there you have it, folks. There is this beauty.